are getting animal feeds are getting expensive every day, and a lot of things are just happening. And I just feel that politicians feel they can just get away with all of these things. I want to believe that they are really pushing the young people to the wall, and they will just get whatsoever that comes out of this. A lot of us don't want to leave this country. We want to work. We had invested a lot in a lot of our Greek businesses and all of that. And then you just realize that, policies that are very unfavorable. And then we want to import tractors. They are very expensive. There is no local parts. You want to import the parts. They are very expensive. You have to push this cost to the people. And yet, most of these people cannot even afford it. So a lot of farms are closing down. Young people are frustrated. They are pushing us to the wall. And they will get whatsoever they deserve. So we most of us don't want to leave this country. We want to stay here. We are hardworking. We do what we ought to do every day. Go to our farms, just try to put food on the table. But we just have policies that are very unfavorable, and they are just pushing us to the wall. It's just unfortunate. We felt that Mr. Tinubu came in and all of that. We felt let's give him a chance. He will do something new. But it's just like birds of the same feather. People just come around, bogus budget for themselves, and they are not just thinking about the young people. I just feel that our Greek sector, especially in the southwest, is not given enough attention. And how do we want to feed ourselves with all this? No tractor, we still use hoe. A lot of farms still use hoe and cutlasses. How do you want to feed millions doing that? How do you want to feed millions doing that? And most of our interiors, the farmlands, they are not safe anymore. You can't even walk from morning till 4 p.m. and without being afraid. The moment it's 1 p.m., everybody start leaving the farm. So how do you want to even become this productive? And I feel that our leaders, they are not even listening. They don't even know what is going on. They don't know what is going on.
All right. So as a farmer, Nigeria has happened to you. The Tinubu Nigeria has happened to you. And your own story is not a very good one. Is that it?
Very true. It's not a very good one. It's not a very good one. It's not a very good one.
All right. Now let me get some other perspectives to this. Is there anyone there that is willing to speak about his own experience in today's Nigeria? I can see Babatunde for City has shown me top on Twitter, on X. Please, your mic is on. Go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon and good evening in Nigeria. Okay, I'm Babatunde. Well, I'm going to be real, and that's one thing about me. I don't hide my feelings. I quite understand what the last speaker was saying about, the impact of this government and the previous Nigerian government on agriculture. Okay, I'm a businessman in Nigeria. I was once a farmer, and I'm still hoping to go back to farming, though I'm presently in the United States, for over a decade now. But I can say categorically that I'm not surprised with Tinubu government, because I can only be surprised or disappointed. That is when I have high expectation. I don't have any serious expectation from Tinubu's government. Tinubu government is a pain in the butt of virtually all Nigerians. I have Nigerians that are doing extremely okay. And I spoke to somebody this morning. He was complaining. A lot of people are complaining. Nothing is working. Nothing is working. Food is in fact unaffordable. I used to do auto business. Like before it came, a car you sell for let's say 10 million. And the salary has not been. Purchasing power of people has dropped drastically. Nigerians are suffering. And as the last speaker has said, I don't think these people really feel for the people. The politicians don't feel the people. They don't care about the people. They don't care about the masses. And I was listening to Professor Ataru Jega yesterday on Inside Source of this Laulu Akonde. You know, the man was talking about the Nigerian elite, the political class, should see the political office as an opportunity to give back to the society, to lay a legacy. Political office and something that is going to pay them. I think the mindset needs to change for Nigerian politicians. What does it cost a governor to order a tractor for each local government, at least 3-4 tractors in each local government? How much are they selling tractors for farmers? How much are they selling fertilizers? How much does it even take to encourage local production of fertilizers with manure? Serious and massive investment in agriculture. If a serious government can solve food problem, as Yoruba will say, but in this kind of case, they don't even care. They don't feel for the people. I was in Nigeria a couple of months ago. I went to Mega Chicken. I was shocked. I got to the airport. Me and my friends, we ordered chicken. I think about 40-something thousand. I was saying, I asked the lady, I said, look, how many Nigerians can afford this? This is too expensive, but it's not their fault. The last Christmas, they sold a chicken I bought chicken for 15,000, the one I give out to my workers. 15,000. We bought a chicken for $8 here in the United States. $8, live chicken. When you go to the farm, it's $8. When minimum wage is around $15 per hour, not per month. So Nigerian government needs to they need to feed the people. They need to feel the impact of what people are really going through and help the masses.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Let me bring in, I see a few people's hands up. There are a lot of people who are ready to speak about their own story of Tinubu's Nigeria. Let me get my speaker here in the studio, my guest, Mr. Adamu Garba, who is an entrepreneur and a social commentator. Thank you so much, Mr. Garba, for joining us. I think we should begin. For those who will say, is this the renewed hope that we bargained for?
You see, it is good that this kind of conversation is taking place. People are airing grievances. It's like a point of trying to tell the government that we are watching. You have to do what you say you will do. But in reality, this is just a government that is barely taking off. Like how many months? Maybe 6-7 months. And any government that is just taking off, usually there are a lot of some structural arrangement that can be done to properly be able to implement the government policies. Even the fiscal year, this is the first time the government is approving a budget. Implementation hasn't even started yet. So we have to take some time and look at the government at least for some time and give them the benefit of doubt, since the government did not fail. And the government captured most of this program in its own appropriation bill. So I think while we air the grievances, which is very good, which is like telling the government that people are watching, people are actually trying to make sure that you do those things you say you will do. That's a good thing. But we should also be able to understand that this is just the government that is barely taking off, and then try to give them some benefit of that.
So I'd like to ask you, how's been your own Tinubu's Nigeria?
Yeah, I think my own Tinubu's Nigeria has been the Tinubu's Nigeria. I hope it will be still. As I mentioned earlier to you, the government is just barely taking off. A lot of programs are being put in place to try to make sure that all those challenges have been taken care of. So I think it's time for us to mellow down and watch.
I'm asking about your experience, not your hope.
Yes.
There's a difference between what you are feeling right now and what your hopes are.
Yeah, the thing is, it's tough. Nobody will tell you that the economy has been what it used to be. It's actually very tough. You have a dollar that is more than 1,400 in the parallel market. You have energy costs is very high. Like my wife came back, she run a bakery, and she was giving me a lot of exclamations yesterday night. gas, what 50 kg for 50,000? This. She was just exclaiming, on so many things that have changed. So this is a reflection of what is happening.
So today's Tinubu Nigeria is bad.
It's not that it's bad. It is just a reflection of
it's tough,
global
like you said.
economic realities. In fact, if you look at the statistics that was done recently by this Global World Economic Forum, they mentioned some of the countries that are cheapest to live and some of the countries that are the most expensive to live in. The top 3 countries that are the cheapest to live in the world, or cities, starting from Pakistan, then you now have India, the third one is Nigeria, globally. So it means despite the fact that we are seeing these things as very hard, it is actually even far better than so many other countries. So we have to just understand that, you see, when the world is organized around an economic arrangement, a centrist economic arrangement that is dependent on dollar, and then the United States is doing everything possible to protect its own dollar too, by rising interest rate, the cost of that dollar will be high across the globe. And this is the situation we're facing. So it's an international issue. It has nothing to do with national issues.
But your wife is complaining.
Yeah, of course she has to complain. That's our reality.
So the today's Tinubu's Nigeria is a bad one. It's rough.
I'm not sure it is not. That's why I'm trying to say it's not Tinubu's Nigeria. It is a global issue.
We're talking about, we're not talking about the globe, we're talking about Nigeria, which affects some of us who are living here and the experience that we have. And perhaps if we have a government that is listening, how can they be able to make it better? Because if citizens are not talking, if they are not going to the street to protest, if the citizens are not agitated, the government will think is doing the right thing.
No.
And that's why I'm asking whether or not, in your own experience, you think that is just fine. The present situation of the country is just perfect from your own view.
The present situation of the country, it is not going to be categorized as fine. But again, the government is just about implementing its own fiscal year 2024 program. So anybody that will just pass a judgment now is pretty much premature. We have to wait and see what the government is able to deliver January 2024, December 2024. Otherwise, any other judgment will just be wrong. Yes, it's not really nice. The economy is tough. The situations are hard for everyone, all of us. But again, let's allow the government to start implementing its program first.
Economy is just on one hand, and I'm seeing a lot of comments. For example, on Instagram, Obinzo says, quality of life and purchasing power is poor. Please let this man should fear God and speak the truth. They're making reference to you. He has also said that his wife is experiencing it. But economy is just on one hand. Security is another. Yesterday in Ibadan, on the way to Lagos, they kidnapped a chieftain of a political party. Abduction, kidnapping has been the order of the day. Insecurity is on all-time high. Crime rate is going on. Violence in the country. And this is the kind of Tinubu Nigeria that we are experiencing today. What would you say to that?
Yes, the insecurity is tough. And the fact that it has even directly started affecting the political class, because a PDP chairman of Lagos State is not a small person in Nigeria. So the fact that we have this kind of experience, it means that the government needs to do something very drastic in the area of security, which I believe the government is actually trying to do as much as possible. The approach to security situations in Nigeria now has been more of a kind of a soft intelligence-driven approach than a hard kinetic approach that has failed over time. So, and most of these things, when you are doing intelligence approach, where you have to gather intelligence, where you now have to deep dive into the community, into the people, into their desires, into their choices, into what led them to this kind of crime, this is not going to be something that you just fix by pressing a button. It has to take some time. So you have to re-engineer the social construct to be able to connect the dot between the point of the person from the point where the person is on the edge where he is supposed to go and join the criminal gang to start being a crime, by preventing him from that. So it's like trying to nip the bud from the root cause. So, and with this, it has to take some time, but it's really, really very drastic. You have a country where thousands or hundreds of people are being killed sometimes, like what happened during the Christmas Christmas Day event in Plateau. This is very kind of.
You see, happened a few days ago.
Yes, it happens.
Yeah, I mean, you see, continued a few days ago,
Mango.
even after the curfew in Mango.
Exactly. So you see, so all those things are serious issues, and it's calling on the stakeholders, the leaders of the country, to shield their differences and come together to try to create a very strong, solid approach.
So you don't think there is a failure on the part of government?
There is complete failure when there is no security. When security is bad, it means that the government needs to do more to fix the issue. But the
so Tinubu government is failing.
It's not failing
in the area of security.
No, I told you that the approach they are taking is an approach where you need soft intelligence to fix the problem, and that is what we need. That is what, in fact, particularly the Office of National Security Advisor is doing. The challenges we are having from the beginning is that we put military on the front line to fix otherwise civil social problems.
Salam Garba, so see what Obinzo again on Instagram said. He said this is 8 months, so by now we should know the direction of this government.
No,
if we are still giving excuses, this is just they're just really starting. We need to know how long more do we? It's almost a year.
No, government is a structure that is large, complex. So you must have to connect all the components you need to get things happening. If you said you are going to solve security problems, there are so many areas around the security. Energy is part of it. Food is part of it. Social issues are part of it. Border is part of it. A lot of other components have to come together before you fix a security problem. So you must connect the whole. And this is barely 8 months. How old is a child when he is 8 months old? So we have to look at these things and give the government very strong benefit of that to see how fiscal year 2024 is going to be. But I believe the approach that this government has taken is an approach that we have never taken in fixing Nigeria's security problems since after the civil war.
What do you mean?
That soft intelligence approach, where government enters into people's behavior, people's lifestyles, people's means of livelihood, people's structures, and try to create security from the root. That's exactly what the government is doing. And I believe it's a very strong and effective method to fix Nigeria's security problem. That is the way we were able to fix the civil war challenges after the reconstruction, whatever.
Do you drive safely in Abuja?
Yeah?
Do you drive safely in Abuja at night?
Yeah, I drive carefully in Abuja. let me say this. Yeah.
And that has not happened to you in at least 4 or 5 years.
No, I think it is better because I remember Abuja in 2013, 2014.
I'm saying the last 4 or 5 years.
Okay, the last 4 or 5 years. 5 years. Yes. It's not really that secure as it's supposed to be. Yeah.
I mean, insecurity is on one hand. It does look that there is now a big gully between the north and the south in government's policy. Announcement made by the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, Aviation Authority of Nigeria, and the Central Bank of Nigeria in wanting to move some segments of or departments of their operation to Lagos has caused a lot of this distrust between some people, especially some northern elites believe that decision is largely political. And in fact, one of the senators from the north, from Borno State, Senator Alin Dume, on Politics Today on Channels Television has said, warning that it will have a political repercussion if they go ahead to do it. I mean, this is another issue that is speaking to the unity of Nigeria. It is in this Tinubu's Nigeria.
Yes, you see, you do not have some basic characteristics that I think political leaders in Nigeria, especially in the South, need to be able to accept before you can be able to do something right in the North. Like, we are very conservative in the North, and any conservative society worldwide have two major characteristics. Number one, they are protectionist now. And number two, apart from being protectionist, they try as much as possible to preserve their identities. And the centrist in terms of government, approach to governance is usually centrist in any protectionist society. So the political leadership in Nigeria over time was able to bundle both the economy and politics in one, Meanwhile, the political leadership is supposed to be central, like it's supposed to be decoupled to some degree with the economy. And the decision taken on the central bank mobility, or maybe the relocation, has to do exclusively with the economy. And we have reached a point where in Nigeria today we have to accept ourselves whether we are going to continue with the military centrist approach to government, or whether we want to democratize our systems. If you look at where we pick our democracy from, for instance, United States of America, they have a central bank which they call Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve itself has about 12 other regional Federal Reserve systems. The operational angle, the board of governors, the chairman, and I think also the committee that regulates their open market committee, they call it Federal the Open Market Committee. These are the offices that stayed central. But all other operational units of the central banking system in the United States is decentralized. That's why you have 12 from Boston to Cleveland to New York and other things. And again, in the US, they're equivalent to what we have as banking supervision is managed from New York, similar to the way we have Lagos today, because almost all the headquarters of Nigerian banks are sitting in Lagos, with the exception of Jaiz, Taj, and Unity Bank, I guess, and some other banks. Almost all the headquarters are sitting in Lagos. So it makes it clear for banking supervision to take place where the banking headquarters are. This is a purely economic decision. It has no any political kind of arrangement where, you know, some people take it as a political move. Why? Because the politics and the economy are bundled together. Again, you have another department, this OFID, other financial institution department. Most of the fintech companies, microfinance bank, mortgage banks, head offices are also in Lagos. So it makes sense for this department to operate from where they are supposed to be more effective in delivering public service for the benefit of public good. But because of this structure and the way even the government communicated it and a lot of confusion, we now have a situation whereby people are now beginning to see it as political. It's not actually a political move. It is a very strategic economic move.
Why are some northern elites angry about it?
Yeah, that's why I said because we bundle politics and economy together, we have issues in decoupling them when we see these kind of things happening. Once the president who come from Lagos, or maybe I'm the president of Nigeria and I come from Yola, and I saw that in Yola we have River Benue. It has the largest structure of Benue distribution, the River Benue distributions in the country. Why can't I set up in central bank intervention system around the river basin development in Yola? They will say, because you come from Yola, you are pushing the central bank office to operate from Yola. Meanwhile, it's purely for the development of the river basin of Nigeria. So this is exactly how I think we should look into this. It has no any political interest behind the decision. And I think we should support the government in trying to implement what is right. And we should also begin to look at even further decentralizing the operationalization of the central bank. You have places in the north. Most of the food that is being produced in Nigeria is coming from the northeast and the northwest and the north central. Why do we have interventions in agricultural programs sitting in Abuja? Why can't it go to some other areas in the north? Right? Why do we pick the central bank department that is responsible for this operation and plug it in the north? So that's what we need to look at. Now we have also gas intervention of central bank that has been happening in Nigeria. So why can't this stay in Port Harcourt or Akwa Ibom State or even in Bonny Island? So that is exactly how the US did too, to get most effective utilization of their Federal Reserve System. And that's what we need to do. Again, even if you go to England, where we copy most of our colonial approach and also administrative system from, the Bank of England live in the city of London. And the city of London is not even the sovereignty of Great Britain. It's an independent sovereign nation. So when you look at these kind of things, it's actually a model of development that has worked globally. So it's not a bad deal that the government is taking this approach. It is in the interest of economic development of the country, and I think we should look at it that way.
So those northern elites who are aggrieved about it are unfair.
Yes, I'm not trying to say they are unfair. I'm trying to say that they're expressing the northern characteristics. I started by saying that we are conservatives in nature, and a conservative society have two critical items. Number one, their government is centrist in nature. I mentioned that centricism. So once you bring politics into their economy, they will begin to see every decision as political because they believe that the power should be centralized. So the government should have communicated it in such a very easy way that this is purely an economic decision, and these are the basic reasons why, as I explained earlier. It is purely because the banking offices, the head office of banks are in Lagos. So why do you have to keep the supervision here in Abuja? So these are the kind of approach that I believe the government has done.
Momo, the conversation about it centers around the unity of Nigeria.
Yeah.
In fact, there is now a threat that if President Tinubu's administration goes ahead, his re-election is going to be threatened if he decides to go for re-election.
Yes, I think that might not be the case. I think it is just a political issue and misunderstanding, but I am not sure that even though it's going to definitely have political consequences if it is not managed well, I believe the government should communicate this very clearly as a purely economic move for the benefit of the well-being of the country.
I thought that was what the government has said.
Yes,
that they are moving this for these uncertain reasons. But some certain northern elites, and they're not big names at all politically in the north, who believe that this is centrally and majorly a political decision and there will be dire consequences. Will it be fair on Tinubu for the northern elite to take this against him?
Yes, I don't think it will be fair. And I'm not sure what Senator Alindume was saying also was properly understood. What Senator Alindume was saying in that interview, I watched it properly, is that he is sounding a warning message that we should be able to take these kind of decisions with proper information so that people cannot see it with political consequences. What he's trying to say is to sound the word of warning, because the opposition will leverage on this naturally to try to do everything possible to attack us, to attack the party, and to ensure that it has political consequences against 2027. I want to see it in that light, because I know Senator Ali Dume is a very loyal person to the president, is a very loyal party member. He is not going to publicly come to the media and threatening the government to lose, his party to lose, his president to lose simply because something has been taking place. I think he's sounding a warning. And it's typical of Senator Alindume. He has always been doing that. And he has always remained a party member. He has always remained a loyal party member. He has always been with the party. He has always advocated for the president. So I just think Nigerians have misunderstood it very properly.
Bello on Instagram said, would you say the government has not performed adequately in disseminating information about this? The NOA and all the SSAs and the CBN themselves have not managed the information gap.
Yes, I think there's an information gap. I think there's a very serious information gap, and that is where we have the problem. This decision is an economic decision. It's a policy that is supposed to be more effective. It has nothing to do with politics. But then the way it's communicated, it's usually reactive. And once you react to issues, it has already been cooked. So you have to find a way to either quench the fire by reacting, and that reactions usually get misconstrued. And people get to interpret what the northern elites are saying much more than what the government is actually saying, because government come with it defensive. The structure is that communicated effectively before implementing it. The central bank is supposed to carry the entire presidential media team and the entire media organ of the government with this kind of policy before coming out to publicly announce it. And that is where we have the gap.
So it's now the North versus the South.
It's not the North versus the South.
That's what it's looking like. That is being the argument.
It is proper information versus the improperly executed information flow. That's how I'm saying.
Because Senator Alindume was making reference to those he called the Lagos boys, think that they can just do anything they like. Do you imagine maybe there's some people who do not have the deep political thinking about their policy around the president?
100%. That one is true. That is why I said the way the policy was communicated as though it's an affront, it's a decision that must be taken, and no matter whose ox is God. And it's wrong. You don't do this kind of fair decision, especially to a conservative centrist society like the North. So what we do is create a structure where this information is properly disseminated. In fact, you need to even advertise and do some media activity. There are so many important media organs in Nigeria, so many important media organizations. Contract them, pay them money, let them educate Nigerians that this is what should happen.
So the northern elite feel this is a Lagos agenda.
Yes, naturally.
Against the North.
Let me tell you this, right? At some point, people have to look at their political survival. If they keep quiet, and somebody who is an opposition, who is an enemy, took over that narrative, it's going to be very difficult for the northern elites that are supporting the government to even go to those people and talk to them about the need for change. So it's important that it's even taking place from within. If it's taking place from without, from somebody who is an opposition PDP carrying this agenda, it's going to be a very serious problem for us.
Would you suggest that the president should stop this policy?
I'm not going to suggest that the president should stop this policy. I think it is actually in line with the recommended decentralization of Nigerian system. And there are some economic components. Like in Nigeria, we have about 9 economic centers that you need to empower, and each of these economic centers is supposed to be backed by a financial system, similar to the way United States broke its own into 12 with the 12 Federal Reserve. So I think the president should even advance this course by looking at other areas of the country. Like in the Southeast, you have heavy industry. How do you empower this heavy industry, this metal production, or this chemical production? In the North, you have agriculture. How are you going to take the central banking operations that will help in intervention in transforming this agricultural produce into manufactured goods as opposed to importation of food that we have in Nigeria? Now, this is the way you need to look at it and then structure it in such a way that Nigerians benefit from it. I think the president should expand it more, not to be seen as if it's just a sectional agenda. It should be expanded.
Are you imagining that the president should actually have a conversation with the northern leaders about this?
Yes, I think it will be good if not necessarily even the president, if the central bank can involve more, because the central bank publicize this policy. It's not the president.
And the Ministry of Aviation too.
And the Ministry
because
of Aviation.
FAN also says that they will. And there are those who say these sort of intentions are not new.
It's actually not new because FAN, for instance, it used to be in Lagos at 2020.
So why are your leaders why are the leaders in the North against this?
Yeah, because I'm telling you, because of the way we bind some political decisions around some economic decisions.
Is this oversensitivity, political oversensitivity?
We have trouble separating what is ideal and what is real, right? So once you bind them together, it becomes like it is basically a political decision. Meanwhile, Lagos Airport received nearly 18 million passengers per annum. Now, even the Abuja Airport received 3 million. So why do you have Federal Airport Authority in Abuja, for instance, when this is where you have the massive traffic? If you want to make Lagos an alpha city, you must expand it to such a level where at least 60 million passengers.
So even the Minister of Aviation should be in, that ministry should be resident in Lagos.
Not the ministry. Because Ministry of Aviation is large. You have Meteorological Society, Meteorological Agency, you have so many others. But that fund has to be there. Like accident investigation.
The AIB.
Everywhere. Yeah, the AIB, right? But that particular fund can be there. Like NCAA can be in Abuja. National Civil Aviation Authority can be in Abuja because that is an authority. But Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria is not a bad deal if it can operate from somewhere you have the massive traffic. So these are the things we need to look at. You look at the traffic, you look at the throughput, and you look at the need for you to provide effective support for these organs to function as they should. That is exactly what...
Do you see any disconnect between the Tinubu government and the Nigerian masses?
Yes, actually there are several disconnects because the government is trying to do, if you look at this fiscal budget, it is massively have several new projects that is going to benefit the people. But this has not been properly disseminated to the point whereby people can have that renewed hope in their mind that once this thing starts, we are going to get fixed. So everybody is still banking on now, the situation of now, to take all their judgment. Meanwhile, you just need to be a little bit patient and look at the government policy and hold the organs of government accountable. Because if you look at each of the agencies of government, you will see the total amount of money that's allocated to them. What are they using these monies for? So a situation whereby we expect the president to be a class monitor carrying cane and taking noisemakers and flogging them and asking some to kneel down is not going to help us because it's transparently published. So you look at what is given to this particular agency and how are they using these resources. And then you can even help the president in governing better. That is what democracy is all about. People need to participate in how government policies are being executed.
There are those who will say that the Tinubu government got into office with less than a 40% acceptance in terms of voting. And there are those who will say, look, there seems to be some issues of legitimacy, and that which the government or the regime will have to battle with to be able to deal with carrying everybody along. If you look politically speaking, has the Tinubu government been able to move forward to be able to legitimize his mandate since getting into office and since the Supreme Court judgment?
I think several actions have taken place. And if you look at the complete non-interference of the government with the judicial process in Nigeria, it is something that we need to give the credit to the president, number one. And number two, you see a lot of rapprochement from opposition to come together and see how the country can come as a united entity to deliver public good. That are also a very good move. But it is not good for politics to divert the president's attention from governance. And I think that is what the president is trying to measure. Let me pay attention more to governance and less to politics. While people expect him to start consolidating like political structures around him so that there can be unity and the government can move together, importantly, people should pay attention to how the president governs. I think this is the most important part.
The government under the Tinubu administration, they've made some very, very far-reaching policies. On the fuel subsidy, it's biting hard. The exchange rate is biting hard. Price of commodity, biting hard. Insecurity is really giving a lot of concern to a lot of Nigerians. And there are those who will say tonight, maybe the renewed hope agenda that has been promised has been dashed.
No. This policy of fuel subsidy has been the monumental fraud that has kept Nigeria backward for so long. And that policy has only benefited not more than 500 people in this country. Trillions of naira. In fact, towards the end of the last administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, subsidy is gulping 6 trillion naira to very few individuals. For what purpose? And this is a problem. Now, Tinubu, on coming on board as a new president of the country, took that thing out and bring back the money into the public purse. And now share this money effectively across the organs of government. National Assembly, their own. You now have the state government. You now have the local government. All of them taken from the new proceeds that is coming as a result of the surplus by removal of the fuel subsidy. So it's not only the federal government. What are the state government doing with the allocation given to them, the increased allocation given to them? What are local government councils doing with the monies given to them? At least we have seen that the president have put appropriation bill of 28.7 trillion naira for the year 2024. What are state government doing? What are they spending on? So these are the things we need to look at. The president is doing the best he can, to the best of my knowledge, in terms of utilization of fuel subsidy. And until you start spending into the economy, until you begin to spend into the productive base that help us to curtail the effect of the fuel subsidy, we cannot escape the problem of the dollarization that has affected our economy and is almost drying all our pockets, increasing the cost of living to ordinary Nigerians, finding it very difficult to live and be able to participate in most of the economic activities as they used to. Until the government spends properly, we are not going to get it right.
If things go like this, you have shared experience of how your wife is complaining.
Yes.
If these trends still persist, would you still continue to support Bola Tinubu?
The trend will not persist. That's what I can assure you.
You are hopeful.
I'm very, very hopeful. And my renewed hope is very much alive. Yeah,
let me read some comment on YouTube before I bring in some views on X. Echo Maestro says next month makes it 1 year after the election, and people are still saying that the government hasn't taken off yet. $1 is almost 1,500. Cost of living is terrible. He went further to say a government that will do well, you don't need months to find out. Mostly everything about Nigeria today is bad. Security, inflation, hunger, etc. God, please stop having mercy on these evil leaders. That's Echo Maestro on YouTube.
It is okay that he voiced his frustration. It is very, very okay. As I mentioned, I started this interview by telling you about how my wife came to my head and was exclaiming about the cost of things, that she doesn't even know how to make profit. How can she price the bread, to the buyers? Is it going to shut her out of the business? So it is a situation that all of us are facing. It is not a good situation for all of us. But what I am saying, in my own view, is that we should allow the government to properly implement its own fiscal agenda. Because government will campaign on certain promises, but these promises cannot be fulfilled until there is appropriation and implementation of what is appropriated. So that is what we need to do. This is just January, and this is the first time that the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing its own budget. Let's leave them for 2024 and see what's going to happen. Let us not throw a premature judgment. And when we continue to insult and curse our leaders, it's going to consume all of us, because they are the ones taking decision for us. If that insult he is doing, causing them that he's doing, if it affects them, all of us are going to all be consumed by the same thing that he's saying. So it doesn't make sense for you to start insulting your leaders. You either pray for them or you make some recommendations that will help them do the right thing.
Let me bring in one or two persons on X, on Twitter. I can see Health is Word, Adenike Awe, one on Twitter. Your mic is on. Please go ahead. What is your own Tinubu Nigeria looking like? What is your experience? If you can share with us in 30 seconds.
Gaba is saying it's a new government, is a new government. The man got supplementary budget, and it's the same APC government. Are we going to use the next 8 years to start to keep saying, oh, he's new in the job, he's new in the job? People are groaning. Things are expensive. He knows what to do, but he doesn't have the political will to do it. Corruption is the one killing this government. Somebody was talking about farmers this evening. I heard him talking about farmers don't have access to pesticide, what's it called, that farmers use again. Yesterday, I'll send you the link. Yesterday, a budget tracker that they tracked a spending in between. They tracked the spending last year, late last year, that they were meant to give to farmers in Kwara State to buy pesticides and to buy what's it called that farmers use. I've forgotten what they used to get greater yield. No, the budget wasn't delivered. It was siphoned. Umahi put money in what's it called, microfinance, 3.4 billion naira. He put it in microfinance for what? And he's telling us it's the new government. A lot of money has gone under the drain in Tinubu's administration. So it is bad. He removed the subsidy, but look, he said he saved so much money on subsidy. We can't see the effect of these savings. If anybody has gotten palliative, they should come out and say. Nobody has gotten anything.
All right.
He says he's giving more money to the states. What have the states done with it? What has he done with it? Come on. I yield the mic.
Thank you so much. Health is what I appreciate. I see Metaphor at David AB61537842 on Twitter. Your mic is on. We have 30 seconds. Your intervention. What is your own Tinubu's Nigeria like?
Well, thank you, Phil. Let me just quickly say that I don't take Mr. Gaba seriously, because in my opinion, he's like the wind that just floats around without really hitting core issues that are affecting Nigeria. So I don't take him seriously.
Apologies. Is my guest? You can't. Sorry, apologies. You can't insult my guest.
No, I'm not insulting him. I'm not insulting him. I'm not insulting him. I'm just saying I don't take him seriously. Quite frankly, and that's not an insult. I just don't take him seriously because I've watched him for a while, and his remarks, in my opinion, does not hit real economic issues. But you see, about Tinubu's government, a government that would start its government by devaluating the currency without a strong internal economy has already set the country on fire. That's it. And I don't believe that in the next 8 years, Tinubu's government will rectify anything because it started on the wrong foot. Thank you.
What would the wrong foot be? What do you identify as the wrong footing?
Thanks, Shehu. This is what I mean by wrong footing. You don't have a strong internal economy. You don't even have flourishing industries that are strengthening the internal economy of the country, and then you went straight to start devaluating the currency. That would cause a serious problem. Right, and I wish I had time. I'll break this down and I'll clarify. It will cause a serious problem. And many of the problems that has caused is what we are seeing now. You see, because the Nigerian economy in many ways does depend really on its internal robust system. That system has been crippled. And then you go and devaluate the currency. It's like, and then they also did something again. And another policy quagmire from Mr. Tinubu from the onset was what he did with the petroleum. And the Nigerian internal economy depends on it. In fact, the entire Nigeria life depends on petroleum. And then you do that, and then you devalue the currency, and you don't have a strong internal economy. You are setting the country, on fire. And that's exactly what we're seeing now.
All right. Let me allow you to quickly respond because that man obviously doesn't like your face.
Exactly. He was
and your views, though.
But the truth of the matter is there's something he said about this economic devaluation, especially the currency devaluation. I believe the policy was implemented in rush. Even the United States of America during the Cold War, at the end of the Second World War, when they were trying to structure Germany, there is a crisis between mark and the Dutch mark. The US decided to devalue the mark that they want to protect, but it's failing. So what they did was to create two offices. They call it Office of Economic Cooperation Account that manages all money that is coming from outside, separate from the currency that is inside Berlin, which is Germany, where they protect. And also another strategic office, they call it PSS, or Policy Planning Office. That Policy Planning Office now takes responsibility for effectively tracking where the foreign currency is required, for in that case dollar, and channel that money from that economic cooperation account into the dollar required system. That's how you manage the devaluation of the currency. But the situation whereby you just flatten the surface, of course, it's going to be a little bit unfair.
So you also don't agree with the manner in which Tinubu government is handling the devaluation?
I think the devaluation of the currency was rash.
It was improperly done.
It was rash, actually. There's supposed to be an economic corporations account. All the dollar that we receive supposed to be channeled to where dollar is required, not every other thing. Dollar should not go to because I want to buy pure water, you just take dollars. It doesn't really. Dollar should go to productivity, where productivity is required. That is the only way to be able to shoulder the effect of devaluation. Because if we don't arrange it very, very well, and we don't get our productivity well now, we will still be going on a downward trend of the naira going much more lower against the dollar, and then it will be a very serious problem. So the best thing is two things. One, the government have to create a structure that makes sure that dollar goes to where dollar is required only. Two, Nigerians have to patronize local product. We have to go and be using local things. Even though it looks substandard from what we get from abroad, we have to reduce our insatiability for import and start to concentrate on our local products.
Maybe the government needs to be harsher on ensuring that Nigerians consume Nigerian produced products.
Yes, the government should lead by example. when government is trying to buy augmentin from GSK that is imported in Nigeria, why don't we look at our local agbo? We have professional traditional medicines that have proven effectively in tackling our antibiotic problem, that are very antibiotic, very effective. Why don't we patronize that?
Why don't we also patronize Nigerian automobile that are coupled here in Nigeria?
Exactly, like Innoson, like Nord Motors. Why don't we patronize Crowy, our local social media application, as opposed to now?
Yeah. I saw your social media posts on it.
Yes. We are launching it, I'm sure, by next month. When I'm resigning from the company anyway, but we're launching it. The new leadership are coming. It's going to be launched officially.
Why are you resigning?
Because I am more into politics than business.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let me get some other views quickly. Olabode Samuel at Abimbola Omonla. Please, 30 seconds, your intervention. What is your own Tinubu Nigeria like?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Number one, I would like to say to govern Nigeria, it is a very, very difficult task. Number one, there is inflation. And few months ago, the president had an agreement with the president of Benin Republic, to open the border and all the stuff. But we realized that some section of Nigeria were crying bitterly, just to stop this thing. So to govern Nigeria is a very tedious stuff, especially if you are not from the north. It is a very tedious issue. So inflation is killing. And some people are kicking against bringing in food. That is very, very ridiculous. You were given the opportunity to produce enough food, yet you tampered with it. Corruption killed it. And the president is trying to bring in food. You are threatening him with 2027. Who does that in Nigeria? And I begin to ask questions. Do we have the love of nation in our hearts, or we just love our region and that's all? So inflation is killing. Please, the president should set aside whatsoever he has said from any angle and open the border. Let people eat. Nobody can put anybody in bondage because of some set of people. Let people eat. Then the aspect of security. The president needs to set aside whatsoever he has said as well. Deal with them properly. Whosoever is in charge, deal with them properly. We have a nation to govern. If we are not dividing now, then we should put the house in order properly. Thank you, I need the mic.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Let me get one or two more persons before we wrap up. Ichi DK at Ichi_DK1. Please go ahead. 30 seconds for your intervention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Seun. Seun, first, what I say to most APC supporters is elections are over. All these campaigns that I hear, people coming here to make, elections are over. It's time for governance. All these ideas we are hearing Mr. Agaba espouse here, his party is in power. Why are things not working? You guys promised us all these things. Why are we still having all these issues? So, listen, let me tell you, a lot of Nigerians did not vote this government. But most Nigerians want things to work for the country. We're just watching. We know that these guys did not have the capacity in the first place. That's why what we hear here, complaints upon complaints, when their party is already in power. Every other thing that they have promised to solve have continued to dwindle. Insecurity in Nigeria is at an all-time high. The economy is tanking. Every single thing. So all these campaigns, Mr. Galba and APC supporters, are over. Please, you guys should start turning things around in the country. We already knew that it's difficult to govern Nigeria. Why are you telling us? That's why we wanted a leader who will come in and start turning things around, who understands how difficult it is.
What would you have preferred? What would you have preferred? Chike, who would you have preferred to govern Nigeria? Who do you think understands Nigeria better?
Mr. Shehu, there are so many people that contested. I mean, we're not campaigning anymore. We have somebody there. So let's focus on that person who is there. If we was campaigning, I would say who I preferred. But at this moment, the man who is there should turn things around in the country. Okay, so Mr. Gaba is shifting the goalpost and asking Nigerians to come in and hold people accountable. The budget is public. Listen, Mr. President or whoever is there in power, he has the resources to do these things. Why is he not doing it? This is part of governance. Why are we hearing excuses up and down, Mr. Shehu? That's not what we want in this country.
Right.
So I tell you again, elections are over. It's time for governance.
Let me get to at least one or two more persons. I can see Justice for the Masses at LLV007. Your mic is on. Please go ahead.
All right, and thank you, Sean Akimbalaye. Good evening to comrades. This is Justice for the Masses, speaking from the masses of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. Sean, I want to tell Mr. Garba something, that he talked about the masses praying for politicians. I want to tell Mr. Adamu Garba that prayer is not a government policy. We did not sign any agreement to pray for government. We did not sign any agreement to pray for government. Prayer is not government policy. That is number one. And then number two, Sean, just like my friend said, you understand, elections are over. This is time for governance and criticism. This is time for governance and criticism. That is number two. Then number three, Sean, Mr. Garuba is not in the right place to be asked questions concerning Nigeria under Tinubu's word. The masses should be asked such questions. Whatever policy this government is rolling out, if it does not reflect in the pocket of the masses, then this government will become a failure. Whatever policy the government is rolling out, if it does not reflect in the pocket of the masses that I am representing, then Mr. Sean, I put it to you that the government is failing.
All right. Thank you so much.
Lastly, Mr. Sean, please. Lastly, you understand? The president, because since the inception of APC, we've seen them always, rushing to be the Minister of Petroleum. The president should assign that portfolio to another person, because he has not been able to govern. And then he's attaching another portfolio to him, and that is a portfolio I'm sure he doesn't even understand. He should assign the portfolio of the Minister of Petroleum to somebody else and then hold on to the president. Thank you very much.
Let me get Zamani of Apapa. 30 seconds, please, your intervention quickly.
Thank you, Sean. Good evening. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think the policy or the manifesto that Tinubu writes before he become the president of Nigeria is different from what he's practicing now. Maybe someone else wrote that policy, those manifesto for him, because Nigeria of today, Sean, people are suffering. I can tell you for free. I went to a friend's place today. We were just talking about the economy, and he was lamenting. And this is not just an ordinary situation of him alone. It is what is happening to all Nigerians as we speak now. We just pray and hope that this government do the needful. Thank you, Shehu.
Thank you so much. Thank you for making it very brief. Amid Ojo.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Okinbalwe. I wouldn't have much to say anyway. I will just have to say an important message to Mr. Garuba. Whoever is a politician should always remember they all have families who are not into politics. They all have relations, people around them who are not politicians. They should always watch whatever step they are taking, as the whole nation is going through hard times, which I believe the tough time won't last. At the end, the mass will gain their strength back in whatever policy the government is putting in place. I wouldn't say much against this present administration, despite being in a tight and hard economy so far. In few years' time, maybe by the end of 2024, will be my judgment between the current administration. For now, I can't precisely say they are not doing well. I can't rate them and I can't rate them.
All right.
Thank you. I read my mic.
Yeah, TMC at Defields.
Good evening, Sean.
Good evening.
Quickly, Mr. Garuba, I don't know how within Nigeria, where you've been to, where you've toured around to. I don't know if you have visited some less privileged home or those that have been involved in insecurity matters of kidnapping, how they raise money to get their people back, or some family who lost their people. I don't know, maybe you've heard from them. I don't know if you have seen the increment of universities right now. I was still in a conference yesterday with the Nigerian Southwest Nigerian leaders, student leader. Many of them were just lamenting on increment. Some students has dropped out and all that. And you are still telling us that this present administration, this present government is saying that they don't know, that it's very difficult for them to rule Nigeria. When you know it's difficult, can you just step down and let another person that is ready to rule and do it? Are you people not just tired of talking and talking and talking and talking and talking and talking? Do you even know how people raise money to send their students to school? See, sir, we do respect, sir. We need action. Enough of this talking and talking and talking. Enough. Let them put it in action. You are talking about loan. The little on ground, sir, the parents have not paid that. You are talking. How do you just want to balance? Focus on just one thing. If it is this petrol issue you want, just focus on one. Make it less for the people. We are suffering. You people are up there. You are not really seeing anything. Let's be factual. You are not seeing. So
TMC,
focus on just one thing. Make one thing work. Make one thing work. Just one thing to work.
TMC, thank you so much. Let me allow at Moses Ongbeme on Twitter. Please go ahead. Moses.
Okay, yeah. Can you hear me, please?
We can hear you.
The conference.
Yeah, your 30 seconds starts now.
Okay, yeah. So, this regime, if you like, give them 100 years to govern Nigeria. Anything profitable. Is that why Nigerians are blaming APC now? Whatever APC is doing is what Atiku Obi will have done, because they all promised to remove fuel subsidy. They all said they will not fund education. They will fund private education, and they've devalued currency. The plan of the CDP and Labour parties in the House of Rep, they all collected 160 million vehicle, Prado. So why are we now complaining on Twitter? The whole thing that is happening now is as a result of negligence of the masses, of the people. You can't protest, you can't do anything, and you expect change to happen in Nigeria. It can't work.
All right.
So whatever that is happening now, we all bear the brunt of what is happening. So I don't have anything to say.
All right.
Let's just be complaining instead of marching on the streets and move this criminal politician out of our political space. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I guess I'll probably let Chidility on Twitter, technically cliche of result. Chidility.
Yes, boss. I just quickly want to say, first of all, the last speaker, please, I'm sorry to you. There's no way you would have known what PDP or a Labour Party would have done. Don't compare it, please. We have different manifesto, so do not compare that. You voted for APC. Enjoy your governance. And for protests, please do not shift governance to citizens. People went to polling units and do their own part. Governance, the people elected should do their job. Please don't always shift blame. I don't like it. And somebody was speaking before, mentioning about 2027. I don't know. Sometimes, Mr. Shehu, I feel like crying. We are talking about now. We are talking about 2027. Your concern is about who is kicking against 27. You guys are just. It seems like this is just selfishness. Mr. Shehu, I kept 1 million naira in 2021 in my account. Now it's about almost 250,000. He devalued himself.
In terms of value.
Lose value according to exchange rate in the black market right now. I wanted to send money to waste. I brought 250,000 to UAE. It become useless. Meanwhile, in 2021, when you bring 100,000 to UAE, they are giving you 1,000 dirham. But now that 1,000 dirham is 300,000 plus or 400,000 plus. in Nigerian currency. And these same people put election tomorrow, they will come and tell you how current president will build Lagos State, how he make the whole country work. It's not working. And the worst about all these things is that students are suffering, Mr. Shehu. The only Form A we used to pay tuition fee at the official rate, they have removed it. Till now, I don't even see the impact of the reason why they removed it. You cannot book flight. You want to book flight to Dubai or UAE or UK, you are paying millions. What is going on? And people are sitting there because you have access to Twitter. Conclude on this.
Right.
If they give us for all on the street, we will bust ourselves.
Thank you so much, Idilite. I appreciate it. I think we should just wrap things up. Let me allow Mr. Garba, let me get your final views on some of these issues. There's a long way to go. There is a lot of work for those who are in power to do. But here, talking about Tinubu's Nigeria, where do we go from here?
The mic on is really a very strong global public square. I love it. I think when somebody come here, he will hear the real mind of Nigerians.
Absolutely, Nigerians in the purest form.
In the purest form. I really like the show, and I really like the energy that all of them expresses themselves. This is the kind of media we need to have. I think in Nigeria, really. You see, I will take on with the last speaker. How will Nigeria go forward? Inflation, economic challenges, insecurity is not only the sole responsibility of government. Each and every Nigerian citizen also have one or two things to do to contribute to the well-being of the country. And what the last speaker said, he wants to go to Dubai, he is spending hundreds of thousands of naira. Why do you carry naira to Dubai? What is it that you want to get in Dubai that you cannot get in this beautiful, great, strong, and very affluent country like Nigeria? What is in Dubai? What is that in that London or the United States that you must get that you don't get it here in Nigeria? I think the best way to fix our country is to begin to patronize ourselves, our local talents, our local values, our local production, our local capacities, and everything that we do here. That is the only way we will save Naira. A situation whereby we are waiting for government to come from the sky and do something to fix the Naira issue. The government will only help with policy, but the execution will only work when all citizens participate in the process of succeeding or successful implementation of this particular policy. And part of which is buy local product. Why don't we buy local products? Why do we patronize foreign things? Why is it that we always want to carry Naira and go and kill it somewhere? Why don't we use the Naira here in Naira, buy Naira, sell Naira, consume Naira, trade in Naira, produce with Naira? Why don't we do that? So I think this is where Nigerians need to look for going forward. We have to sacrifice our insatiability for foreign goods and look inward. We have to accept ourselves for who we are. We have to look internally and begin to respect what we have, no matter how inefficient it is, and leverage on our local talent pool to make those things that we admire so much from outside better from within. That is the best way to fix this country.
Thank you so much for your intervention, Mr. Adamu Garba, an entrepreneur and a social commentator. There is so much to be done to fix Nigeria. Someone is asking, why is Tinubu in France? Do you know?
He went on private visit, so it's private.
Okay, yeah, that's what we know.
Yes.
Thank you so much indeed for your time, and as well, those of you who have shared your views, those who are watching on every of the platforms that we are broadcasting at the moment. Thank you so much indeed for your thought. Tinubu's Nigeria. That is the conversation today, and it will not change, at least when Mr. Tinubu is in office. But how is your own Tinubu Nigeria working for you? The citizens have the right to be able to push government in the direction they want them to go. They need to ask the tough question for government to do what it is promised to do. The government has its own duty also to perform its constitutionally guaranteed responsibility. But how far are they doing that? It's over 6 or 7 months now since the Tinubu government got into office. They made promises. Have they delivered on the promise? The citizen must push further. And that's why we created this platform tonight. For all of us to join our voices and ask for one thing, good governance, and for a better life for all. Well, that's our Micron podcast tonight, everyone. Many thanks for joining in. I'll see you again next time. I'm Sean Akimale. Bye-bye.